this is Pablo Hidalgo from Lucasfilm, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z, or Zed for Canadian and British listeners. This is the podcast you're looking for.
Devin, where's he taking us? Who is this guy? You trust him?
Don't trust anything he says, okay?
Take him to holding for the time being.
Sir, protocol states we cannot interrogate an underage
Would you like your memory to be wiped and reprogrammed?
The Empire will be expecting you to make a move.
Well, I wouldn't want to disappoint them.
That was a representative from Crimson Dawn. Dryden Voss requests an audience.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, your family-friendly, spoiler-free Star Wars podcast, where intelligent conversation and a splash of humor bring fans together from across the galaxy. I'm your host, Dan Zayer, educator and Star Wars author. Whether you are a lifelong Jedi Master or just hopped off your first Star Cruiser, grab your calf, thank you, Two Boots, and join us as we explore the mythology, philosophy, and wonder of a galaxy far, far away. One conversation at a time. Coffee with Kenobi is more than a podcast. It's a community. Together we celebrate the people, stories, and experiences that make Star Wars so special, creating a space where fans can come together and share their voices. Thank you to the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Check out coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefan-travel for a no-cost, no-obligation quote, and let them know Coffee with Kenobi and Dan Zayer sent you. We've got a wonderful show for you today. Tom Gross joins me to talk about Chapter 7 and Chapter 8 of Maul Shadow Lord. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite mug, and let's have coffee with Kenobi. Oh my goodness, we are so close to the end of Maul Shadow Lord. We are here. When I say we, whoa, hi, it's Dan Zayer from Coffee with Kenobi. I am here with a very special co-host as we go through Chapter 7 of Maul Shadow Lord, which is titled Call to Oblivion, and Chapter 8, The Creeping Fear. Well, this guy, we're not afraid of him. We love him. You do too. It's the one and only Tom Gross. Tom, welcome back to the show.
Well, hello. It's great to be back on the show. And what a great topic. I was just telling you before we came on, I'm glad I wasn't available earlier in the weeks because these two episodes, oh boy. But I will say, I have to say, it's a hard act to follow when Dennis Keithley is the shows before your own. So I've got a big shoes to fill here as your guest, but I will do my best.
So we've been usually, of course, when you and I do a show together, which is quite frequently, we don't talk about the series, the show, the book, the whatever, the action figure, whatever it is we're going to talk about. How have you felt about the series so far?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it seems like looking all across the interwebs that everyone feels about the same way I do, and that is this is a most magnificent story that we are experiencing. It was a story that I guess I'd always wanted all along. Who doesn't love a good villain, a scary villain, to the point where we kind of love the guy. We feel for him, his pain, his suffering, his desires. I think there's a little bit of that in many of us, just a little, not as much as Maul, but I think a lot of Maul I can relate to, and his plight in just, I don't know, in some ways, but oh my gosh, I'm loving this story. And Maul is not the surprise star or the expected star, I suppose. There is another that I am super, super excited to talk about as we go through tonight.
Well, I don't know who it is, but I'm assuming it's the one that is also my favorite. So let's go through them individually. Call to Oblivion, which is, of course, Chapter 7. What is one word and overall initial thoughts, I should say, on the episode?
Yeah. So Call to Oblivion, I told you a few days ago, like you said, we don't talk about these shows, but I did mention to you the one word for both of these episodes came right to me. I don't know that they're super novel, but they're what resonated with me. So my one word for Call to Oblivion is trapped. My initial impression of this was just that. I felt like everybody in some way is very trapped in this episode. I mean, when you look at the order of the episodes, this is the one typically that, in the role of the story, this is the one where everything starts to feel like it's coming undone for the heroes, and even in this case, our sort of unexpected heroes. And so impressions are that this is doing to me exactly what all the other episodes are doing. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, as they are, as they are walking through this giant tunnel. I've got to know sometime tonight, Dan, you need to tell me what this giant tunnel that they keep going back to is or represents. It's got to represent something. You got to tell me tonight. But they're walking through that, and then we get more of is it Morak? Okay. We get more of him.
Or is it now I'm confused. I forget. It's Marok. I think it's Marok. Mare is in like horse.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So we get him. We get the answer that everyone had at the end of the last episode, that massive cliffhanger where Marek is bowing to somebody. We get that answer. So my first impression is this is gold. It's
gold, Jerry. Okay, my word for this is dichotomous, because there are multiple things. It's like dividing into two distinct, exclusive, and sometimes contradictory parts, but sometimes they end up working together. And the whole thing is about a lot of duality. I mean, a lot of these words we're using, I think, would fit for any of these episodes so far, because they are, again, one linear story as opposed to episodic, which I find really cool, and somewhat unexpected. I wrote notes down on this too, and I look at my notes. Typically, this is why I rarely take notes on these shows, because I look at my notes like 2 hours later and I think, why did I write that? What was I thinking when I wrote that down? But I've got some points, some key points. I think Maul, you had mentioned at the top of the show that I don't remember the exact words, but something along the lines of you felt sorry for Maul, or what is it that you said about him? And did you mean this episode? Feel for him. Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah. Oh, he's tormented. And I don't care how bad of a person you are, torment is torment. And so I feel for him that this is something that he just, for years, has not been able to let go and find peace with. And as, this is a story we know beginning to end. Mm-hmm. We already know that. We're now in the middle, and you're just sort of wanting, even still knowing the whole story, you want him to find that peace. And so I think that's why I say I feel for him. I mean, he's still a murderer. He still is a bully and a manipulator. Mm-hmm. But I feel for him because.
And that might come up more in chapter 8 than chapter 7. Perhaps.
And maybe, but he's going out, he's against what we're all against. And so it kind of fits that dichotomy that you're talking about where, he's the bad guy, or he is a bad guy, but we have the same enemy, the enemy of your enemy, or whatever that saying is.
He's my friend, yes.
Yeah, and so this is kind of that feel. And so I think to answer your question, I think that's what it is I feel for him because there's so many things that I can relate to with him story-wise.
Okay. Right. It's always funny when you say that because you twitch. No one thinks you're a Sith Lord, Tom, as far as we know. Yeah. You did pull for the First Order when we were on the Halcyon. I do remember that, but that's a story for another time. we'll definitely talk about that more in chapter 8. So definitely remind me if I, for whatever reason, forget.
Sure.
But the interesting thing here, and you brought this up, other people have brought this up. Maul is a certifiable, quote, bad guy, end quote. But in this series so far, besides some harsh words, and he certainly, keeps Devon in prison, but then he lets her go. They fight, but you don't get the sense he wants to try to kill her. He's trying to groom her. There's no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. But he lets her go. He's got his own problems. I think it really just kind of hit me that while Maul is a bad guy, in this series, if this was the only sample size you had, you would know he was an intimidating force, like a force of nature.
Yeah.
But I don't know that he would come across as a good guy. He certainly wouldn't come across as an anti-hero, but he was more like, pirate is a bad word for this, but he definitely marches to his own beat, but he's not coming across as an incredible villain so far because he's the one being hunted. He's the one looking for help. And I'm certainly not advocating that he's a good guy, but maybe that's part of the intrigue about this series overall, that he kind of takes the script and it's very different.
It's definitely what makes this series so interesting is because we do know he's a bad guy, but the presentation of it, he's the protagonist of the show. The show's named after him. And so you're following his story and you're kind of rooting for him along the way. But you're right. He helps Devon, but he's grooming her for evil to be an apprentice. So like everything he does and that's the beauty of Maul as a character, everything that he does that is seemingly helpful or there's a benefit to it, there's another sinister result behind that, which I think is a ton of fun of what this story is all about. Yeah, it's hard. How is the bad guy the protagonist to the point where you're actually rooting for him at certain times? I mean, this episode, we'll probably get to it. This episode, there's one point where I'm like, I am 100% rooting for him. And so when we get there, I will let you know.
Okay, well, see, I won't say that I'm rooting for him, but I'm not rooting against him. And so again, he's certainly not gray. I want to emphasize this again. I already have, but it's not that he's gray. It's just that the way the story is constructed, again, very unconventional narrative, which I absolutely applaud. It's interesting. One of the things I wrote down is, and it goes along with my word dichotomous, is there are some sections of this where it's Maul and Devon together. Like when Riley says, "Why are we following this guy?" Mm-hmm. And she's like, "You cannot trust him. He is a murderer." And he says, "Look, you go ahead and go on your own, but you're probably safer with me." He means it. Does he have other intentions? Well, sure he does. They all know that. But he also is going to try to keep them alive, including Riley, as far as we can tell. And we've seen no indicators that is not the point. So you've got Maul plus Devon. Then you've also got Maul versus Devon. And I think it's cool. There's a part towards the end of the 7th episode or 7th chapter where he gets frustrated and he loses his cool and he says, "I'm tired of your vacillations." I love that he actually uses the word vacillations because it's a terrific word. Mm-hmm. But it elevates, the rhetoric the diction is certainly elevated, but so is this humanity. There's more humanity in Maul. I'm learning all kinds of things just by conversing with you, which always happens when I talk with you, Mr. Chris. But there's some interesting, I also want to say this, I'm jumping around, but there's just a lot of things popping into my brain. Maul's not a complicated character. He's not. He's an interesting character, and we're getting more layers to him. But it's pretty clear what his motives are. The only thing that is unclear is how he feels on the inside. And so this is one of the few times in this series so far, just through chapter 7, mind you, where we see there is a humanity underneath the Dathomirian. Well, he's a Zabrak from Dathomir. It was underneath those horns is frustration that she's not towing the line as he wants. But he also doesn't manipulate her to the same degree that Darth Sidious does. And again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I've thrown a lot of stuff there on this fire, but what do you think?
It's so easy to want to jump ahead. But God, there was something you said. Yeah, I mean, the humanity of Maul is definitely starting to come through. Oh, I know what it was. You said he's not a complex character. And wow, here all along I was thinking that he was, but what you say is absolutely true. He is not a complex character in that we know exactly what he wants and we know exactly where he's going, and he doesn't really
not really
change
gross
from
either.
that.
Right.
But he's put into complex situations.
Yes.
Which I had mistakenly attributed to him being a complex character. So you're absolutely right. But I do think the sheen of humanity that we see kind of breaking through makes it feel like a little bit more of a complex character. But I definitely think, if you don't mind, I would like to address this again when we get when we get to chapter 8, because I think there's a very open spot there for that. Yeah. I kind of want to move, if it's okay to move.
It's more than okay. It's encouraged. Right. It's encouraged.
Let's do that. Let's go. Let's talk about the guy that I have been really surprised or unexpectedly is, to me, the most interesting character of this whole show, and that is Lawson.
Oh, he's the best.
Riley's dad.
He's my favorite character.
Is he a lieutenant, or he's not the top cop, but he's pretty close to top cop.
Right.
And so this unexpected person that shows up in Maul's story, I want to go to a really kind of specific sort of look at this, and that is, we talk about through Star Wars across the board. You and I have talked about this theme so many times, and that is this theme of, and I mean, it's set up with the Jedi, and that is mentor and mentor, Jedi Master and Padawan, or father and child. And I thought this episode, and I think it fits really well with your word as well. In this episode, we see two instances of this come together, and that is the relationship between Lawson and Riley, and Daki and Devin. And where it came to me that this is a like a parallel is when let me see here, when Lawson and Daki are walking through that tunnel, and this idea of, here are the two wise elders, different but the same. They're like fathers, or are fathers, and one's a grizzled police detective, lieutenant, and the other one is a Jedi Master survivor. And I put that survivor in there very deliberately. Lawson mentions working with Jedi before, and he concludes for Daki that they weren't what he had been told they were like. The whole brainwashing of the Jedi as being the evil, and the ruiners of the Republic, and all of that. And he says this to Daki, and Daki looks up at him and he goes, what does he say? He says something like, I appreciate that, or thank you, or something. But he says
you're not, he says thank you for that. When he says, I never really believed that Jedi brainwashing stuff. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I feel like that sets up a lot of things. I started this talking about fathers and sons, but I'm kind of getting there, because the respect between these two elders / leaders / fathers is established here. And I noted that from this point on, through this episode, there were some decisions made that the other didn't really agree with, but because I feel the respect that was given here, and because of the recognition of our, quote, children, it's better for them, or this is the best, may not be the best for us, but it's the best for them. There's so many times that comes up, and I'm just really liking this feeling of relationships between these two. And I don't really want to bring it up because I don't know how to handle it, but I'm bringing it up because I'm guessing you probably have a great answer for this. And that is, I feel like Maul, in a strange, twisted way, also has this type of relationship with his crew, Rook, and his mercenaries. But I don't know how to describe how that's different from what Daki and Lawson have with Riley and Devin.
Well,
So I got on the spot with that.
No, you didn't put me on the spot. I like that, but that's going to come up in chapter 8 for sure. We probably should just get to chapter 8. There's still something else I want to say with 7 though.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting when Devin talks about when she reunites with Daki, she doesn't mention Maul. She said we don't have time for that now. She purposely avoids giving his name, as he was one of the people that help to save them. We learned that the Mandalorians, some of these Mandalorians are mercenaries, not zealots, which is also a line used by Grief Karga to the armorer at the end of season 1 of The Mandalorian, when they find a bunch of Mandalorian armor, and then Din Djarin yells, "Did you do this? Did you?" And she says, "No, I didn't do that." Or no, he did not do that. He did not attack the Mandalorians. So it's important to remember that the Mandalorians they're not all like Din Djarin. They're not all like Boba Fett. Some of them really are just fitting that archetype of I'm a bounty hunter, I'm a mercenary. There's no loyalty. There's no loyalty. But Vanessa Marshall's character, Rook Cass, says, ever since you took over the throne of Mandalore, I have followed you without question. That might actually be in chapter 8 now that I think about it. So there's different degrees of loyalty here. I also think it's kind of fun that Two Boots regrets not actually having Two Boots on. I just find that amusing. There's really nothing to say. There's not really anything profound other than, I guess you could say he's looking for his new identity when he doesn't even realize it. And what he regrets is the old life, probably the life he had before the Empire took over. And he's still iceberging along to figure out that this is not the way to go.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I'll say about chapter 7 that fits into this word of trapped is when Maul, the Empire catches up with them. And I think it's fascinating how that happens. It's in that moment when he's sparring with Devin and the probe droid sees their lightsabers.
Sure.
And that's what gives them up. But so they're trapped in this moment. And how many Star Wars stories of war take place on a bridge? I can think of 2 or 3
Quite a few.
from the Clone Wars, most of them, but there's lots of places where a bridge is important. But Maul separates himself to get the 2 Inquisitors, which, by the way, the big mystery of the end of chapter 6 is revealed in this episode as, do we have a name? I just know it's the long skull face with the glowing red eyes. And he doesn't say a word.
Right. That is the, I think it's the, oh gosh, I just wrote it down. 11's brother. It's the 11th brother.
Okay.
Who also, again, is known to fans because he fights Ahsoka in Tales of the Jedi when she is.
That's where. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew I'd seen him before. I just couldn't remember. Anyway, Maul separates himself to get the Inquisitors away from his crew and that fight, which shows confidence in the Mandalorians. But I found that this is the place where early in this episode I said I was rooting for Maul. This is where I was rooting for Maul, is in this cave. And I just thought it was an ugly yet beautiful setting of the waterfalls. And there's even that moment where we're looking through a waterfall that's glowing red from somebody's lightsaber. I don't even know that we know whose it is, but there's this little kind of cat and mouse underneath there. There's some parts of it that reminded me of Luke and Vader on the second Death Star when the Emperor is egging him on. But I really here was rooting for Maul to either escape or defeat one of them or to defeat both of them. And it comes down to check. And the beautiful, beautiful lines of the there is no surrender. Merrick says that there is no surrender. The Emperor wants you dead.
Right.
And I had to rewind it. Maul, likewise. And then he pulls the ceiling
with
down
great
on
strain,
everybody.
with great effort.
Yes. And end of episode. I was rooting for him. That's not quite the ending that I wanted, but he wasn't captured and he wasn't killed.
Right.
So,
it was a cool, almost a cliffhanger or a rock hanger, if you will.
I mean, more cliffhanger than we think because of the beginning of episode.
That is
how
right.
What we see happens in episode 8. Yeah.
That's right. Well, let's give a letter grade for chapter 7 and any last minute reflections you have on it.
Oh, I give it an A. I thought it was an easy A for me. In fact, if I had any deliberation, it was to go up to the perfect A+.
Mm-hmm.
But I will stick with a solid A. Just two things. I know you and Dennis talked a little bit about this last time, but the art in episode 7, the art, the what we're looking at, what is that called? The production, the animation is just absolutely stunning. There's the moment when let's see, they do a pan down of the city, and it is like a masterpiece artwork. And it's even like almost like an oil painting that you're looking at as it comes down to, and then we see I think it's Lawson and Daki, but then we go to, it's very quick with those two, and then we go to Marek perched on the top of a building like a hawk or a raven or a gargoyle, just looking over the city for his prey. I was just like, oh my gosh, what beautiful animation and art right there. And it just absolutely blew me away.
It reminded me of Venom, or when Peter first, before it becomes the Venom persona, but when the symbiote is taking over Peter Parker.
Yeah,
very much so.
I like that.
I will give Call to Oblivion an A-. It's an excellent episode. It continues to build upon the themes that we've had throughout the season. And it's got some interesting lines, some interesting ideas, but it's more of a continuation of what we've seen so far. So it's still an A-. It's an excellent episode. I've said to you and to anyone who from the beginning who I was talking to about this, each episode gets better and better. So now we go to chapter 8, which you and I have alluded to. This is called The Creeping Fear. This is also the last episode that I've seen in advance. We were not privy to have been shared chapters 9 and 10. So I'm very much looking forward to what happens after this. We've got a lot to say. Tom, what is your initial impressions of The Creeping Fear and your one word to describe it?
Wow. My initial impression is this episode absolutely blew me away. So many things that I wasn't expecting. We learn about, we get background on Maul, which was, I don't know, I guess maybe I should have expected it, but this background that we see, and we learn a little bit about where he came from and how he became who he is, which is really painful as a viewer, but also painful for Maul. And what a blow your mind ending that I'm not going to talk about yet, but this is another episode where I'm on the edge of my seat. And I've already alluded to or used Seinfeld once, and so I'm going to apologize to you, Dan. I'm going to apologize to all the listeners, but I'm going to do another Seinfeld and just drop this. What's the deal with the coffee?
I know.
There's got to be something there. I have some ideas, but
I love that Two Boots kind of toasts the Imperial officers he's walking by, and I think yet again, you don't drink it. You don't need it.
No,
it's
just
fat. It's a fun little play word. So what was your word again?
My word is torment.
Torment. Okay. Yeah, this is a fantastic episode. It's a capstone piece. If they're going to top it with chapters 9 and 10, look out. But my word is metanoia. Metanoia at its heart is, and I say that on purpose, is historically a Christian word, which means it's actually a Greek term meaning a transformation, a change of mind, a change of heart. But there's a psychologist named R.D. Lang who described metanoia as a breakthrough rather than a breakdown. Maul doesn't change, but we do get some sort of a breakthrough as to how deeply his wounds are.
Yes.
And it very much plays into a lot of themes that we were talking about for chapter 7. I've got a lot to say. I know you've got a lot to say.
Yeah, let's start a little light, and let's, if you don't mind, let's just address the coffee right now.
Okay.
Because it's the lightest piece, and it probably is the most shallow. Throughout, as you say, Two Boots is constantly carrying coffee around all the time, and it's almost like early on, he's just giving it to Lawson. Lawson's a coffee drinker, and blah blah blah, and
I guess we should say that in this show they will call it calf. I know this is Coffee Kenobi, but I know people are saying it's calf. No. We know it's calf. We know it's calf, but let's be honest. When we see it, we think coffee.
Thank you for correcting that, though, because you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, I think you said this on the last show with Dennis, but yeah, every time that Lawson is not on screen, he's got to be in the bathroom.
It has to,
because all the coffee that he apparently drinks, or he's like me and he's just leaving his coffee cup all over the place, and it gets cold, and he never drinks a bit of it.
I found your coffee cups throughout the library, by the way.
Yeah. So, okay, here's my thinking. Is I realize that when he has this conversation in this episode with one of the officers,
mm-hmm.
and they were both standing there with coffee cups, and it really highlighted for me. I'm like, Two Boots I feel like Two Boots wants to be human. He wants to be a detective. He wants more than just to be a protocol droid. And I feel like we felt a little bit of that in this episode when he makes the deal. Okay, Two Boots is all about protocol, but Lawson's constantly like, Two Boots, you don't understand. It has to be. You have to not think that way. And so when he makes this deal, and Two Boots goes with it, the deal being, by the way, he was going to trade. Riley was captured by the Empire. He's in the police station, and so Lawson is making the deal to trade himself for his son's freedom. Two Boots goes with it, and then when they meet. And the exchange is happening. The stormtroopers come out, and Two Boots goes, "Deal's off," and they all run. And I'm just like, I feel like Two Boots. I mean, let's look at it. He's nonconformist, but he's a conformist to a T. He's nonconformist that he loves his boots. It reminds me of Pete the Cat. He loves his boots. He's got his blue boots.
But more
on.
important than that, he loves his individuality. But he doesn't know that he loves his individuality, and he fights that. How interesting.
Yeah. And so I think the coffee is a part of that.
Sure.
And it's part of his individuality, and he does it, and he carries it with him because he wants to be a part of not the protocol droids. He wants to be a part of the humans. I don't know.
And more specifically, Lawson. It's not a stretch. I love it. It's he wants to be, it's his connection to Lawson and Lawson's family, sure, but really more to Lawson, who, by the way, through all of this, and we see it in this episode as well, he doesn't hold a grudge. He doesn't get mad. His frustration to the point that he turns him off, but that's more for the safety of the planet. Anything personal against Two Boots, who he knows is doing like what he's programmed to do, what he's made to do. And there's so much grace in that. That might be one of the hidden reasons why we like Lawson so much, because of that.
I think you're 100% on the dot there. I think that's exactly why I like Lawson. Is he never loses his cool. He gets frustrated.
Yep.
And he gets angry, but he always keeps his cool. And I know you guys have addressed this, and we don't need to go over it again. But like, I think about the situation with Lawson and his wife, and just I feel like probably Lawson is the one that made the split, because the wife seems so like loving of, she works for the Empire. It's so strange. She works for the Empire, but she's loving. She loves her son, and I'm guessing that it wasn't his wife that he left. I'm guessing it's the Empire that he left, and
absolutely.
she was whatever, bought in,
drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and something there. So I'm guessing he's the bad guy in that relationship, but he's either learned from it or it's just who he is. But I think you're right, Dan. It's his cool head that I think I like so much about him.
I love that, and I love that you love Lawson. I want all the Lawson figures. There are none made so far. I really don't want all of them. I just because I don't have enough room. But yeah, I just think he's so compelling. The performance by Wagner Moura is fantastic. Wagner Moura, by the way, nominated earlier this year. He didn't win for Best Actor for an Academy Award. So this is a serious actor we've got going on here.
I did not realize that.
I think the movie was The Secret Agent. Does that sound right? Yeah, The Secret Agent. Yeah, that's right.
Nice. Good call.
Pretty cool stuff. Yeah. He my word metanoia again means like a change of heart. Two Boots experiences that he does pivot, as you said, when he starts getting shot at. But I think the final straw for him is when he says, we need to talk to Kleiss, right? And then the other officer says, do you seriously not know what's going on? Like, Kleiss has been murdered. She's been executed. And he's like, well, that's not the protocol. What are you talking about? Like, he can't fathom thinking outside the box. This is what it's supposed to be. This is how it is. And it's very interesting because I think there's some interesting things to talk about here with our preconceived notions and how willing are we as people to change. I think one of the things that makes a great story is the characters. Does the story need to be told? And is the story telling us something about ourselves? And I think through Two Boots, very subtly and sometimes whimsically, there's actually more to really look at. But we have to talk about Maul. And Maul's, you had a lot to say. I said, bring it up. Let's bring it up for chapter 8. So what did you want to say about Maul and his, because this is where I think it would be fair to say, while we aren't looking at the world through his lens, we have felt pain. We have felt rejection. We have felt fear. We have felt loss. And he shows us all of this in a very quick amount of time. And it's quite impactful.
Yeah. So I mentioned the giant tubes that they walk through. And Maul's walking through a very different one here. Is it by any means, and you just say no and we'll move on, is this any way like a cave moment for him that he just ignores? Like the Sith experienced the cave moment with because the cave moment is the Force, right? It's not a good side, a bad side. It's just the Force. And so someone who is one with the Force or very powerful in it has to face the cave at some point is my understanding, but we've never seen it on the side of the Sith or the dark side.
There's no like necessary cave. Like Jedi go through their own trials, but they're not always necessarily a cave. A cave, historically in literature, is long. I mean, for thousands of years, has been a symbol of, in internal recollections, in internal strife, coming to grips with self, exploring the unknown. And trying to figure out not only what's on the other side, but what out there in that, because caves are dark. There historically isn't light in them, so you don't know what you're going to encounter. What great fears are going to be there for you to encounter? For the ancient people, it could be a bear, it could be a lion, it could be nothing. It could be another tribesman who is taking that cave before you because they need warmth and shelter, and you are an enemy if you want to take that from them and their family or their kin. So I love that it is this because typically in a story of literature, all the way back to Plato and his caves and the forms, they're organic. But this is not an organic cave. This is an architectural structure that appears to be metallic in nature. What are Maul's lower extremities? Metallic, right? So there is an artificiality to both of these things that are not man-made, but represent something organic and physical and real. Maybe Maul feels like still in this moment, he's that half a person trying to regain his humanity, and Palpatine has taken it from him.
And that's what we see when he collapses. Just learned a whole bunch from you, so that's why I like visiting with you and talking to you, because I always learn stuff like that. And I think it's fascinating, and I love the connection between the artificial parts of this whole story part, because the sand is blowing in his face, or what looks to be sand or smoke or something, and it's the
dust. To me, when I saw that, I thought, well, this is dust. This is him not being able to clearly see through his memories to tap into them, because it clouds everything. The dark side clouds everything, but so does pain and hurt. So you're not going to look at it with, it's not seeing it through clear vision, and rarely our vision's clear, but this is particularly murky because there's a lot of pain and torment in there, and he can't see through to them, and he's buried them. We bury things under sand and dirt. His memories are buried in a similar hazy fashion.
He falls to the ground, and his face is in the water a couple different times throughout these
I have a lot to say about
sections. And he's in the water, and as he pulls himself up, he looks and he sees himself. And at one point he says, "I hate you," right at the very beginning. He slaps at the water. But then as his visions continue, he starts recalling his time with Sidious, and actually starts back where he's young, and he's got a young face, and it's not tattooed as much, and he's actually probably a very handsome Zabrak, and then he sees his brother, who I completely forgot Savage was his brother.
Oh yeah.
And then we see Sidious take him. And then the part that really impacted me the most was when Sidious is teaching him, because it's unlike any teaching we've seen through Jedi, of course, but he torments him, and he shoots it. When he makes a mistake, he shoots him with the force electricity Sidious does. And Maul is like tortured while he's learning. And then I think it's in another vision then, where he comes across and he sees himself. And I think his vision says, "I'm sorry," or something of the sort. And Maul says, in the most ordinary, compassionate voice. I mean, Sam Witwer must have had just a horrible time trying to get this out, because he's been so used to playing Maul so angry. But Maul says, "It's all right. It's all right." Like the most calm and like peaceful and compassionate way, and loving. And he says, "I won't let him do this to anyone else." And that line brings him back.
I wrote that down.
Brings him back, and he's so angry. And then you have that wonderful moment where it's almost heroic, where he brings himself and he forces himself. He's got the sparks coming from his hip, and he stands up with new resolve, and he walks forward. And I just felt like, as a viewer, I witnessed so much, and I know much more about him. But you're right, Dan, he doesn't change. And it's almost like he's been through this cave before.
Sure.
And it just keeps coming back, hoping, and it's like it's almost like he almost gets there, but then something triggers it, and he comes right back.
And maybe that's the most that he can do right now. So the whole cave-in thing is fantastic, because in many ways it is a cave-in of his own design. Now it's for survival, yes, to separate himself from the Inquisitors, who represent where the Empire is, where Darth Sidious is right now. And of course, there's Vader, but this is too small of potatoes for Vader. I mean, because we see that at the end of season 2 of Rebels, when Maul looks up and he sees Vader atop a TIE fighter as he's lowering himself to the ground. And the most cool Darth Vader, it looks like an Iron Maiden album cover. and he says, nope, I'm not dealing with that. And he runs off. But these two together, you have to keep in mind, Inquisitors are very potent. They would destroy any human being without any effort. Jedi are different. Maul is different. I'm convinced, the more that I watch this episode, that if Maul were on top of his game, these Inquisitors would last maybe 25 seconds.
Yeah.
But we know he's injured. We know he continues to focus on that leg, which I think is also symbolic, which I'll talk about here in a second. Mm-hmm. But I watched it very carefully the second time, and I noticed as he's running through this cave, as you mentioned, he looks in and sees his reflection. He sees himself as a child. He says, I hate you. He doesn't hate himself now. He hates the child in him. So why would he hate himself as a child? I think it's because when you're big and tough and strong and you're the bully, the last thing you want is to be vulnerable. When was the last time he was truly vulnerable? When he was a child. When his childhood was stolen from him, Darth Sidious takes Maul from the Night Brothers village on Dathomir with the permission of Mother Talzin, although Mother Talzin regrets that. Because Mother Talzin being Maul's actual mother. So he hates that he felt vulnerable. He hates that he maybe felt like he was defenseless, and he was there. I mean, he's defenseless as a full-grown Sith around Palpatine. That's just who Palpatine is. So there's that. And then as he's walking, there's these driplets of water everywhere, but he runs everywhere except through the water. And I kept thinking, please don't run through the water. And he doesn't. Because if he's going to go to the water, he's going to let himself be drenched in water. And then, from a literary perspective, that would mean he's going through a change. He doesn't want to change. That would be scary, right? That's why when he looks through the haze and the dirt and the dust and the grime, it spits back at him and it's very unclear. And it isn't until he actually falls face first, face first into the water, and he pops up, that he eventually has the realization, I won't let him do this to anyone else, which adds a whole new sheen on what happens to him later in Solo and in Rebels. Now, he doesn't completely change at all, so let's not get carried away with ourselves. But it does at least add a new level to this idea of why he does what he does. He hates Palpatine. He hates Kenobi. He makes no secret of that. But most of his hurts and angst are from Palpatine breaking him spiritually. Kenobi breaks him physically, but it's easier to heal physically than it is emotionally. And that is his struggle. That is his challenge. So that's why this is a reflection, which, as I said earlier in the show, he has a breakthrough. He doesn't change. He has a breakthrough, but you can have lots of breakthroughs in your life through therapy, through reflection, through prayer, through a lot of things, but it doesn't always guarantee that you're going to be different throughout. And I'm glad I think that's a very delicate balance. And I think it's cool that they did that with this character who, again, can't change all that much. For one thing, he's a villain. And for another thing, we know his beginning, middle, and end. So while I think it will be easy to say that he's complex, I think this is a complex problem, as you said earlier in the show so astutely. But I don't think we should confuse vulnerability with complexity. I think he's actually showing a vulnerability, which is quite beautiful. And it does give us a moment of pathos towards him. So I find the whole thing fascinating and pretty daring. Like, this is complicated storytelling. And when you look at the writer on this, who is Jennifer Corbett, she is the writer of the majority of the Bad Batch and the creator, one of the main creators of the Bad Batch. So, of course, it's going to be super smart.
Fascinating. Gosh, there's two things I want to just talk about. One of them's a little more serious than the other, but I know you've got stuff too. So let's just talk about the best non-lightsaber action scene in the whole series. when they're escaping with Riley and they're trying to get to Rena to get off world.
Oh, sure.
Docky sends Devin to, we're going to need what do you say? A hasty escape or something like that. And he says, why don't you find something to drive? First of all, there's some levity. There's definitely some levity here, but some also great action and sort of maturity. She finds the perfect vehicle, which reminds me of vehicles that we see in Solo. They're kind of boxy hover cars.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think it just reminds you of where you are in the galaxy and when you are in the galaxy. But 3 thugs, and I couldn't tell if they were if they were like scrapping this, like they're like thieves, or if they're just like souping it. I couldn't tell if they're the owners or what. But they surround her, and she like just sighs. And then we get the shot of the engines firing up. And she's taking off in this hot rod,
a jalopy.
Hover. Yes, and so they are in a pickle. They being Lawson and Docky and Two Boots and Riley. Stormtroopers are coming from everywhere. And AT, I don't know what that specific vehicle is, but the walker comes around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But then here comes Devin just zooming in, knocks into a speeder bike. The speeder bike rolls down the ramp and takes out stormtroopers. You boys want to ride? Whatever it is she says. And it is the animation and action in this sequence where she is driving away with them. There's a moment where we're outside the car looking at Lawson's right shoulder as he's hanging out the door and he's shooting speeder bikes behind him. The camera, quote unquote camera, follows his shoulder into the vehicle, and then you're in the vehicle with him, almost like you were crawling into it with. And then you do a shot of 3 new speeder bikes coming right after, and again the quote camera work on it. Oh my gosh, it was pure joy and pure action, and I can't even tell you how it finishes up. Oh yes, I can. How did I forget about this? One of the gunships comes down in front of them, and there are speeder bikes in front. You might have to help me with the sequence here. Devin and Docky look at each other like they've done this before. Padawan and Master, they both nod. They do a Jedi trick. I don't know, something. And then she shoots one, and then he flips the speeder bike up into the gunship. The gunship crashes. So cool. They scoot underneath it as it's coming down. Oh my gosh. It's magnificent. I would love to do a study of Star Wars races, or vehicle action races and getaways. This has got to be up there. It's got to be up there.
It's a ton of fun. It felt very Clone Wars-esque. That thing you mentioned, I just want to jump in there real quickly. When she takes out those 3 hooligans, they had to be like thieves or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was their own vehicle. They didn't want to steal it. Either way, there's a nefarious quality about them. But what I think is important is she speeds away. It's clear that she had no trouble fighting them. She didn't want to deal with it, but she did. Yeah. The reluctant hero angle is always fun. One of them kind of starts to slowly get up. It was really quick, really brief, but I'm so happy they included that because it means she didn't kill him. So she's not a murderer. She's not, no matter what anyone, I shouldn't speak as in a logical fallacy superlative, but if you still run to the impression that she's going to be his apprentice, we've seen 0, and I mean 0.0 evidence about that besides normal. I'm a little frustrated, but she still toes the line. She still does what her master says. She still makes good choices. She doesn't kill them. I think that's really important.
Indeed. And I love what you said about the reluctant hero, because when she did that, I was like, oh my gosh, I've seen this from someone before. Oh, of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He does that all the time where he's like, geez, I have to.
Yeah, or Indiana Jones too, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. So anyway, that sequence I thought was absolute pure action gold. But then the other part, now I'm going to mention it because maybe you want to talk about it, but is the sacrifice of Rena.
Yeah. It just showed how much she cared about Lawson. She obviously loved him. No greater love than sacrifice. I'm butchering the words of the gospel, so that's terrible. I apologize. But this just shows how much she cared about him. We speculated earlier about what kind of history those two had. It was enough. It was enough because she blows up that ship, and she ends up killing Blake, the Imperial. All the Imperials are so snotty and so superior. I hate them. It's so frustrating, and that's the point. But I thought it was a nice little hero moment. Honestly, I'm ready to kind of grade this one because I'm excited. I might surprise you. But anything you want to say about this episode before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just wanted to wrap on the Rena part and just it's a to me, she helps to define who Lawson is.
I agree.
All of that, and I loved how they have history because he knew the code words. Mm-hmm. When she was giving it up that she's been compromised, she knew exactly what to say, and he knew exactly how to interpret it. I mean, what more history do we need? What more history do we need, and what more character do we need from both of them at this point? It was so many things really struck me in that, and it was so leveled that it just really gave me chills when she did that. But at the same time, it had to be done, and it really probably put a hurt on the follow up from the Empire at that point. So yes, I am ready for a grade.
And not to mention the very, very end, we find out that Dryden Voss of Crimson Dawn has requested a meeting with Maul. So Vario got that message. He seemed really excited. And that which eventually shows us, again, if you weren't sure, this is before Solo, where in Solo, it's clear that Maul is in charge of Crimson Dawn. And Dryden Voss is one of his puppets. But right now, Dryden Voss wants to talk to Maul. So hopefully we'll get to see some pretty cool stuff in the next two episodes. I cannot wait. But I also can't wait for your last thoughts and a letter grade for this episode, The Creeping Fear.
Last thoughts. You mentioned Vario. That dude, he's
entertaining.
He's got something up his sleeve here. I'm not even convinced that he's actually telling the truth about the Dryden Voss thing. I'm sure in some sense, and I'm sure that that meeting will happen, but I feel like there's more to it what Vario is telling. And so my final thoughts are, wow, the underworld is going to rise when Maul meets Dryden Voss. I give this episode, there's so much in this episode, and there's so much that makes me want to watch the end of this whole show and learn the whole story, that apparently will give us some sort of connection to Solo. I give it an A+. This really worked for me. I was on the edge when Dryden Voss's name was mentioned. I literally slipped off the couch because you knew something was coming, but I didn't see that. I did not see that.
I had said earlier that my grade might surprise you, but that was just a red herring. Of course, it's an A+. Of course, it's an A+. It's tremendous. You actually can get some insights into Maul's pain, but still walk the balance of allowing him to grow in a very, very small window. But this is still a Lawson story. Maul is a wonderful supporting character. That's a hot take, not really. And it ends beautifully. We've got the hint. We've got some really great action sequences, but it's more character stuff. We finally get to see Two Boots make the right choices for the right reasons and start to take some ownership without actually realizing that he is growing too. And it's absolutely fabulous. It's terrific.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
Tom, what a great couple of episodes. And as you said, I'm glad that your scheduling didn't work out because we could have you on for these two episodes again, Chapter 7, Called to Oblivion, and Chapter 8, The Creeping Fear. You talk about lots of fun things, Oblivion, Fear, ominous things, dark tunnels, all sound like the world of Dungeons and Dragons to me. And if you didn't know, Tom and our good friend Dan Ream have a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. Tom, what is going on with your show and where can people find it?
Yeah, Teachers in the Dungeon is the name of the show, and you can find it all over the place on social media. Teachers in the Dungeon. If it's on X, it's at Dungeon Teachers. But man, we are having a ton of fun this year, talking about, of course, the games that we play, talking about how we incorporate RPGs into education. One of my favorite conversations that we're having throughout the entire year is we're breaking down different planes of existence of the Dungeons and Dragons worlds, and so that has been a lot of fun because it's an area that I have not explored too deeply in Dungeons and Dragons lore. So that's been a ton of fun. Yeah, join us for all that good stuff over on Teachers in the Dungeon. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, and thank you again so much for coming back on Coffee with Kenobi. Obviously, it's always a pleasure and a delight to chat with you, and really looking forward to seeing what you think about chapters 9 and 10. I know I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you all are too. And just like that, our journey through the galaxy for today has come to a close. A huge thank you to Tom for joining me to talk about Chapter 7, Call to Oblivion, and Chapter 8, The Creeping Fear of Maul Shadow Lord. We've only got 2 more episodes left, and they drop on May the 4th, Star Wars Day. Pretty great way to wrap up this incredible series. I want to thank all of you for listening to and supporting Coffee with Kenobi, where fans can come together to think, learn, and discuss this galaxy we all love. I'm so incredibly grateful you chose to spend part of your day with me. It means a lot. Special thank you to our official travel partner, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Look, celebration plans are probably rising to the front of your to-do list. Well, I can think of no better place to help you than MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Or if you're looking to plan your next magical vacation to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or a Disney cruise, as I said, you could also use them for Star Wars Celebration or look at Galaxy's Edge. Becky Menken and her team will get you there with a no-cost, no-obligation quote and the kind of peace of mind we all appreciate. Learn more at coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with your fellow Star Wars friends. You can find us on social media or visit coffeewithkenobi.com for articles, merch, and more ways to connect. Until next time, I'm Dan Zayer, and this is the podcast you're looking for. For all things Star Wars, news, reviews, videos, and more, head to our home base, coffeewithkenobi.com. Don't forget to join the CWK Cafe on Facebook at coffeewithkenobi.com/community. Our family-friendly, spoiler-free group for all your Star Wars thoughts, comments, and conversation. This podcast is possible thanks to the incredible support of the CWK Alliance. Want to help keep the show brewing? For as little as $1 a month, you can join the CWK Alliance and get access to CWK Pour-Over, our exclusive weekly audio and video podcast. Learn more at coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. And know this, 10% of your monthly contributions goes directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital. Want to connect? You can email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com. Follow me on X at Mr. Zayer, MRZEHR, Instagram, Threads, at DanZayrCWK, and Blue Sky. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can follow Coffee with Kenobi across social media on X, Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, and Blue Sky, and give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi. If you want to send an email to the show, you can email us feedback at coffeewithkenobi.com. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll find over 700 videos, including past live shows, events, and this podcast. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps more Star Wars fans find our little corner of the galaxy. Do you need a speaker for your next event? Visit danzmedia.com. I love to discuss mythology, leadership, storytelling, or create something tailored to your audience. And finally, grab your CWK gear at coffeewithkenobi.com/shop and show your support in style.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
this is the podcast you're looking for.